Well, the question is, I'm going to answer it. To me, I don't believe that people should have children. Why humans should stop reproducing, and then our numbers should diminish, and that way it will free up resources, and it will solve environmental problems such as the climate destabilization, and it will allow for more people to have farmland. It will allow people to have greater freedom of movement. It will essentially, if there's less than a billion people on the planet, then there's more resources. That's basically what I'm saying. So that would be one reason. Another reason would be the amount of medical complications and discomfort that the woman has to go through to bear a child. If you really think about it, all of the chemistry of the body changes, the hormone levels change, the woman's abdomen becomes extended, her vaginal canal is enlarged, and it could be torn. There's a lot of the babies inside of the mother moving around. It's probably uncomfortable, and when the child does go out of the womb or get cesarean removed through cesarean, it will experience a lot of discomfort itself. So, being born and the act of birthing is not something that's pleasant. And medical science has, they do spinal blocking and all that, and then there's repercussions of the child after it's born. What happens to the mother's body? Does she have depression? Is she getting sick because she's lost her minerals? Because that baby's drawn out a lot of the essential amino acids, vitamins, and minerals out of the mother's body if she hasn't taken care of herself. So there's complications at birth. There's not only that, that person that's being born, you're imagining them, okay, they're going to play ball with me. They're going to get me invited to other people that have children. I'll be more socially, I'll be respected in the community because I'm a parent, or I'll get certain gifts from my family. I'll be more I'll get more of inheritance because I have more children. So the grandparents will leave all the money to the ones that have the kids. And then there's who's going to take care of me when I'm old. I keep hearing that one, and that's really important. Like, what's going to happen when you're old? If you think about it, are you going to rely on your money to take care of you in a nursing home? Because it's really, really expensive to go to a nursing home. It's like a living wage job. That's how much it costs a month to live in a nursing home and be cared for. If you're immobile and you can't move, or you can't prepare your own meals, you can't do laundry, you can't take care of yourself physically, you're having a catheter in you, and you're urinating, and your bowels aren't functioning right, so you have to have someone clean you, and you're in bed all the time, you're getting bed sores, and you're living like that. That's a very expensive way to live. Now, a lot of people say, well, they say, oh, I'll just euthanize myself, right? Like it's an easy thing to do. Like our laws, the social contracts of the lands that we live in they don't allow for people to do that easily. So if you're bent on ending your own life, you have to do it in usually a painful and a very, very unpleasant. It can be very messy. It can be traumatic for the people that find a corpse, or it can be like, and people that kill themselves, they don't leave a will. They don't get their affairs in order. They don't sell off their property. They don't give their property away, or they don't pay off their debts, and they just kill themselves, or they say to themselves, well, I'll just commit a crime. I can do anything I want, and then I'll just kill myself. Well, there's people that probably do that. So the laws are in the land are mostly been framed and formed through religions, the Judeo-Christian Islamic religion. So that people can just go to the drugstore and get a drug and fall asleep and have a nice peaceful death in their own home, in their own private. And we don't allow for that. You have to prove that you're terminally ill, or you need a whole committee of hospital staff and legal staff and you need a court orders and all that bullshit. You need red tape to go through, all these hoops to jump through. If you're really, really sick, then you get it. Then you get to be euthanized in a comfortable way, like that a woman who had the brain cancer. And even that, she was probably a prominent person that had a lot of money that she could draw on, and that she had connections or whatever politically. But still, why is it? I've known older people when I was younger that they killed themselves. I knew a police officer that killed himself in my friend's bed, shot himself, and other people, they were facing a terminal illness, and they didn't want to have to go through all the medications and all the treatments and all the hospitalizations and all living in a nursing home. I mean, honestly, how many people out there do you really look forward to living in a nursing home and being in your bed and having somebody else, a complete stranger, clean the shit off your butt every day? Are you like want that? You like look forward to that? It's kind of like, well, I guess there's this like John Wayne mentality of like, whatever it takes to keep me alive, I want that. I want the best medical equipment, the best respirator, the best feeding tube, the best machines that'll keep my body for as long as possible. And people really want that. And that's their choice. If they want that, that's fine. They can have that. But there's a lot of people that are the poor working class person, the sap that works all his life for somebody else to help somebody else get rich. They're stuck with, a really expensive hospital bill in an emergency room, and then they die because they have to go to the hospital. They have to go to the emergency room, or they have to do it in secret. They have to plan it all out in secret and never let anybody know about it, and get to have whatever device they're using, or devices, whatever drugs, whatever they're using. It's all secret. And then they're going to whip it all out when they feel good and ready, and everything will be fine and dandy. It'll work out like that. And it seems to me like most people don't think about their end. They don't think about how they're going to end their own life. Like, just a few times I've almost choked to death personally. Like, I was just cutting open a watermelon, and I took a bite of it and I inhaled like that, and the watermelon went through my trachea, in my lungs, and I couldn't breathe. I was like, I tried to pick up my cell phone and call 911, and I fumbled, and I couldn't call 911. And finally, I gagged and gagged and gagged, that like that, like a Grim Reaper had his hands around my neck, was strangling me. So that's happened to me like 4 or 5 times, and it's horrible. I wish there was a way I could just end my life fast, and not have to go through that. I hope I don't choke to death. I hope not. But it looks like I'm going to die that way, because I have a predisposition for waking up into the middle of the night, and I have regurgitated something out of my stomach, or I had phlegm in I inhaled it, and I woke up gagging. And nobody could help me. I feel totally helpless. I feel like this is agonizing. And I feel like all of a sudden everything's just going to go dark, going to go black, and I'm going to be dead. But if I don't wake up, that's fine. See, that's the problem I have, is that if your consciousness doesn't experience time, and you need a body, of course, to be conscious. Let's just say your physical brain is experiencing time. Well, if your continuity of yourself just stops, and then it reconstitutes, you're reconstituted in the future as a baby or as an embryo, and it grows into a baby of whatever animal life form, alien, who knows, right? All of a sudden you're floating around in this amniotic fluid, semi-conscious. Mostly you're sleeping, and then you just you're drowsy all the time. And as you grow and you form into a fully formed person or animal or whatever you reemerge as, that's you just wake up. Okay, you die, and then you wake up, but to you it's instantaneous. There's no time at all to you. It could have been just a zillion gazillion of hours, of weeks, of months, of years of time goes by. A huge eons and eons and eons of time goes by, and you're dead, and then you reform because the laws of physics and all the natural conditions, because it's physically possible. I'm not saying there's something that's not physically possible that's going to happen. If it's physically possible and it happened this time around, right? You're here now. All of a sudden, you grew out of an embryo. You were a baby. If you remember the furthest back in your memories that you have of being a small child, maybe in a crib or crawling on the ground, or you can't remember past where your memory started. But as a consciousness, I mean, as an entity that feels, then a consciousness is a universal experience. You can't be a solipsist. I mean, it seems like people are sociopathically solipsist. Does that make any sense to anybody? I don't know, but it's kind of, I don't know. I'm in this live stream, but people aren't. I don't know. My videos that I mirror get more views than my videos. So like Humpty Dumpty Tribe, he talks about how his grandmother or mom or someone he knew was passing away, and their last wish on their deathbed was they hope they never come back. And I thought, yeah, that's that makes sense. I would want that. But you know what? You don't get what you want. It just happens. I mean, the natural order shapes and forms over time. Whatever you are, it constitutes you in your genomic pattern. That everyone says, oh, it's so unique. It's so the astronomical. The numbers are so vast. You're so special. You're just one of a kind, and you'll never happen again. Everybody seems to think you'll never happen again, or they say this is the only universe there is. Like they know this. Oh, this is the only universe. Well, this is the only universe that we can measure, that we have our instruments can make recordings of. But as far as what's before and after that is, you can't. There's no human mind, or there's no human instrument that will record that'll keep a record of that. They can go on particle accelerators, and they can smash atoms together, and they can speculate that was the initial state of the early cosmos, was just heated plasma, was just free subatomic particles. And then so there's a lot we don't know. And it's like all these adults, when you're growing up and in school, you're relying on them to tell you the truth, and you just take it for face value. Oh, they're telling, my teachers always tell the truth, right? They're there to teach me. But if they're teaching religion, if they're talking to children about a god or a deity, or an intelligent force that made all this, that they're saying that's just their opinion, and it's not science, so that shouldn't be allowed. And it's like, it gets me mad, because here I was trusting these people, right? Here I was like having confidence that these people knew what they were talking about and understood reality. But in the back of my mind, I always thought, what are they hiding from me? It's like, do they really know something and they're not telling me? The religious people I'm talking about, priests and nuns, because it's just all these ideas that they just seem so like silly, yet they take them so seriously. Are they really taking them seriously because that's how they make a living? Or do they really, really, really take these ideas really seriously? Do they really believe somebody rose from the dead, and that they're being watched over, and that they're going to go to heaven when they die, and there's someone that's looking out for them all the time, that protects them, and that they're not allowed to have like sex outside of their marriage, or they have all these rules about sex, right? About sexual behavior. So that's another religion. That's another thing that's like religious, is that. But I've been talking for like almost 15 minutes and nobody's here, but it'll make a video. It's a very easy way to make a video. It's a lot easier than just picking up the camera. So maybe I'll do this more often. But I'm always afraid my employer or one of my neighbors or maybe a family member, in a way, kind of will watch my videos, and it'll be like, they'll be really critical of me, and they'll like judge me, and they'll they'll either think, well, why are you talking about that? That's like crazy talk. It's like, of course, that's obvious, you know, like, it's like I'm Mr. Obvious, right? This is some things that are so obvious to people, like you're born, you're alive, and then you're going to die, which is like, why bring other people here? You know, why? Okay, the main thing is there's no God. If there's no intelligence, and there's all these people that believe there isn't any God, but they laugh at religions, but they have children, and they believe that somehow their children are like going to like save them, or their children, the genes will go into the future, and then they'll allow. But it's a weird thing. It's like, it's almost sociopathic. It's almost like, if you understand what you're doing when you're reproducing, and then you're like it's like a very arrogant thing to do, because you're like calling forth a person out of nowhere, out of nothing. You're bringing forth a new life, and that new life, you're only thinking about it as a baby or as a small child. You're not thinking about the life that it's going to have in its entirety. See, that's what's the arrogance about people that reproduce, and they knowingly do that because they're like imposing a life on someone like they're a god. Like the parents are both making a new being, so they're playing God with a life. That, and in a way, I'm kind of mad at my parents, because they were to me, I was a toy. I was like an amusement. I was like something that they were going to have so they could be happy. They wanted lots of kids and lots of babies so that would make them happy. They weren't thinking about a guy that was 59 years old, sitting on his couch and having to work every day and dealing with all his problems, having medical problems and financial problems, and always like aching and hurting and being afraid because and not understanding things, and being taken advantage of by people, or not having enough time in his life. He's a slave. You just make another slave. That's what you did. You had fun with a baby. You played with children. You sang songs and played games and had happy time and did that one. But now, as an adult, they don't think, when they're having these children, they don't think about the older when the people get older, and all the things that happen, all the horrible things that happen in the world. It's like it's this optimistic bias. And the first time I ever heard of Schopenhauer, it bothered me, because he said, some of the things he said, gee, this guy's really depressing. This guy's like he just has no hope at all. There's no little light at the end of the tunnel in this man. The only thing I hear from him is that we're all doomed. That's all just going to disappear and decay. Like kind of what like Bertrand Russell said about all of our great works of art, all of our huge buildings, and all of our structures that we've made, and the works that we've composed, artistic works and great monuments, and all of our achievements, all the human achievements will just decay and turn into dust, and every human being that ever lived will be forgotten.